What's poppin', everybody? Another day, another live stream, Monday Night Football, Ravens, Lions. Let's get it, ladies and gentlemen. We have a massive game for what should be a good one. We have a fun prime time last night, obviously. Russell Wilson against the Chiefs. Be lying if I said I made it through the entire game. I was definitely doing some snoozing there. It was a, unsurprisingly, a big, massive Chiefs win. The NFL is never going to let those boys go 0-3, even though obviously looks like they were going to win that game regardless. Russell Wilson, terrible down the stretch, is absolutely hilarious here. But we're back. We got Monday Night Football. It's been a tough week for me. The Rams game was my biggest L. I had money line and ATS. We all know what happened there. Let me get 1 second to get the promos out, and we're gonna find bets. Not a ton of boosts today on the books, unfortunately, so that's not gonna, be as fun. Obviously, we love taking our SGPs and some of these fun boosted ones that we killed. Like last Monday was an amazing prime time. We're gonna try to replicate that. Unfortunately, if you guys were on stream yesterday, the props actually did great. Yesterday was a great prop day. Game lines also were good outside of, again, the Rams and the money line and the +3.5 on that nonsense. So on this beautiful game of NFL betting, what are you going to do? We try to make it back today. So using Outlier today, shout out to Outlier. If you guys want a 7-day free trial, getting that QR code, or also I'm posting the link below the stream on Twitter. If you're watching on YouTube, you see it in the description. If you're watching on Twitch, hit me up. But let me get this one last tweet. And let's get to it, boys. So I already bet the Ravens -4.5. I bet this game. Probably it was my first bet actually of the week. I probably bet this last Tuesday. Thought I would see some better market love. Unfortunately, did not get what I was expecting. As you can see, I got -108, -101 is still available. Detroit's still showing some value. So let's take a look a little bit at some of the market movements just to get a little bit of a sense of the matchup from a market perspective. And then, of course, we'll talk some props, EV bets as well. I have my filters done for Outlier, and we'll go through the game that way. But let's quickly take a look at some of the market movement here. We'll just look at Pinnacle, we'll just look at Circa, just to keep this chart a little bit more clean here. We had a pretty decent movement since 921. So this is last night +190. This is on the Detroit +195, +200. So Circa showing a little bit of love to the Ravens. Maybe there's a bet that came in on the Ravens. Not a ton of movement there. We see the best odds are 215 at Profit X, which always has some of the best numbers. Let's see how much liquidity Profit actually has, out of curiosity, on this line. So 735, pretty decent actually. On a main market at this time, you expect more, but we could change the odds here. Get 210, 15K, 205, 20K, 200, 20K. So really 205 is, I guess, the true number. Though if you're a Lions backer, you can get it on Profit X and take some of that liquidity away. But I've talked about why I like this game for a minute now. I think that this is a mismatch for a big mismatch for the Lions. I think the Ravens, what they do offensively and how they run their offense, is actually just going to give the Lions fits. I don't think the Lions, after beating up on the Bears, we know how bad that defense was, and they finally played their most inspired game of the season so far against Dallas. But I don't see this Lions team being nearly as good as they were last year. I think that the Ravens, this is a team that we kind of know what to expect based on how they perform, the continuity, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, of course, Harbaugh. Yes, the defense isn't as good, but I don't think this is a matchup where the Lions are going to be able to really stick around. So I laid the 4.5 with Baltimore here. But let's look at some prop bets. So I also have my EV calcs going. I guess we'll start on the EV screen and see where we're seeing some value. Jahmyr Gibbs under receiving yards over a profit. Lamar over passing tutties, but that's over anytime tutty, excuse me. Justice Hill under receptions at Fliff. We can change the books that we want to see here. I don't have Prize Picks, Sleeper, Underdog. If you guys do, that's great. But we'll stick to some of the main books for viewing purposes. If you're a Fliff user, of course, there could be value there. But we'll stick to some of the main books here and see where we find some EV. Seeing some on Lamar anytime. So this is something that I want to talk about with Lamar. So he just does not run nearly as much as he did, and that's just because he's obviously such a capable passer. Let's look at some of these metrics. He did run week one red zone attempt. Overall rushing yards 41 and a half. So he's not running nearly as much as we expect from Lamar because he doesn't really necessarily have to. He's just so good in the pocket. He's such a good quarterback. And DVigging this to Penny is great. Let's see if we can add a book here to DVig from maybe not from this view, but even worst case scenario here, which is the power DVig, still seeing 4.47% expected value with a fair value of plus 168. I think Lamar can definitely turn around and run one. They haven't allowed a rushing touchdown to a QB yet, but they haven't really played any rushing quarterbacks at all. But I want to look at some of Lamar's passing and rushing numbers actually, just to show you kind of what I'm saying with Lamar here. 70 in week 1 against Buffalo, only 13 against Cleveland, not like he had to, but the rush attempts are just down. 6 against Buffalo, 4 against Cleveland. And because he really is, everyone talks about like Lamar really is such a great pocket passer. So he doesn't really need to get out in space there and try to make things happen in the run game as much. Obviously, King Henry's dominating there. And we can look at some of Henry's numbers here. So I was going to say 39 and a half. I was like, what the hell is going on there? Baseline more like 86 and a half, 84 and a half here at ProfitX. Let me go back to the prop screen here and let's do things kind of the old-fashioned way. So I haven't bet any props just yet, but we do have an SGP boost to use. And also DraftKings, I think, is running some promo for tonight for like a $2 million bonus pool. I'll let's see. Opt in. What's the reward here? It is a use your qualifying bet token on a Monday Night Football touchdown score and to win a share of $2 million in bonus prizes. Okay, so let me see. If a player in your qualifying bet scores the longest touchdown of the game, you'll win a share of $2 million in a bonus pool. So that's very different than FanDuel's. FanDuel was doing if they score the first or last touchdown, you get entered to the bonus pool. DraftKings is doing the longest touchdown. So that does change things definitely quite a bit. With FanDuel's, you're just better off kind of betting like the best EV on like longer shots that you had. But here, there's a little bit more strategy into it. I'm sure a lot of people are going to go for the Jameson Williamses of the world, as he's a very likely person to score a long tutty. But I am intrigued still by some Baltimore Ravens pass catchers because we know what Lamar is doing inside the pocket and how he's able to throw the football. Like I'm intrigued by like a Rashad Bateman today. He's somebody who's very interesting to me. So look at some of his metrics here using Outlier. Receiving yards. Don't care about the last 10, last 4, only 10 and 15 in that game. And this is a game where Lamar didn't throw a ton, but like Henry couldn't get anything going. What's he doing from a target share? So he's got 4 targets in both games. He's not really doing what we wanted from Rashad. I thought Rashad would take another step up this year. It's only been the Zay Flowers show. She's been this crazy 42.6% target share. And going to Zay, I think it's at the point where unfortunately, like, all the value on overs are probably taken out, especially in receptions. So this was 4.5 the first 2 weeks. Easy smashes. We bet both of those 2 weeks and, got to live to tell the tale, of course. Those were very easy catches, 7 and 7. This target share is definitely inflated. And, like, you have to think it's going to go down because it's just at such a number that's, like, ridiculously high. But at the same time, like, he is their WR1, like, unquestioned. They're probably gonna take some shots to Nuke, and they didn't mention that they're gonna try to get the ball to Nuke Hopkins a little bit more. Only 4 targets this year, but that's 2 touchdowns, which is just crazy. Let's see here. FanDuel and DraftKings same price, penny 309. So only in the multiplicative DVig method is there EV to this one. He scored both of his touchdowns. He had no targets in the red zone week 1 and week 2. Week 1 was just one of those crazy games as we saw. So it's who's going to be the killer for the against the Lions. So we look at some of the past history on who scored touchdowns. We had Rome Odunze get him for 2. Jaden Reed had 1 in that week 1. So some running backs here. DeAndre Swift got 1. Josh Jacobs got 1. Derrick Henry, of course, can be priced in around this range for that. Quarterbacks, Caleb Jordan-Love, neither rushing quarterbacks at all. Tucker Kraft got 1. Nothing from the tight end room there. Colston Loveland, though, doesn't run any routes. Colt Kmet stinks, and Durham Smythe also stinks. So no real surprises here, but very one-dimensional. So Derrick Henry absolutely dominating the red zone rush attempts and the rush attempts in general. red zone. They're not even playing that much time in the red zone because they're just scoring from deeper out. And target share, Andrews though 2 targets did drop that touchdown last week, so I am intrigued by Mark. I don't think he's like dead. I know a lot of people are like debating whether or not he stinks and some of that, but let's look at the odds history on um, DK here. We'll look at Penny, Fort Andrews touchdown. A little bit of movement here, settling at the 171, but opened higher. So that is definitely worth noting for Mark Andrews. And we can pull up DK here and just confirm this pricing. Profit X, same price. Let's see here, 2-1. So it is the best price in market there at DraftKings for Mark Andrews anytime tutty. I'm intrigued by some first touchdowns as well. I'm going to we have a 30% profit boost, but that's a 3-leg parlay on FanDuel. Then we have the longest touchdown bonus. So let's tackle that first. So guys I like for TD scores, obviously King Henry's 475 for first tutty. Jahmyr Gibbs 700, Zay 800, Montgomery, Lamar 11-1. Andrews 12-1. Okay. I think this could obviously just be like a chalky game. I'm very curious to look at some stats stuff for Justice Hill. He's obviously their passing down back. He's 4-1 to score a touchdown here at Kalshi, 390 at DK, which is some decent value to FanDuel, not a ton there. The Kalshi, though, there is a multiplicative DVIG method. No touchdowns for Hill. Red zone attempts, red zone targets. Didn't get any targets last week or any rush shares so far this season. Again, the red zone rush attempts have only had the ball in the red zone a few times. Even though they score all these points, it's kind of ridiculous if you think about it. But Lamar with 2 of those runs, Hill with 1, and Rasheen Ali, who is their special teams guy, but they like to keep him on the roster because he does play special teams for the third running back. So that's why Keaton Mitchell gets like no burn and is always inactive. Jameson Williams, this line looks low. 49.5. Blew up against Chicago, but he only had those 2 big catches, only 9 total targets on the year. And receiving yards against Baltimore, Judy, I think, had some drops, should have hit that. Said he didn't do well. But Buffalo, Palmer, Keon, and Shakir all were, distributing the ball. They were all feasting there. Tight ends, Fannin killed it, and Njoku also went over. Kincaid and both Knox were getting some looks, though Kincaid is definitely more of like a slot receiver at this point. Running backs, receiving yards, Jerome Ford was able to get there, some pretty high volume. Sampson had some volume, but didn't get there. James Cook, just a beast, and Ty Johnson didn't do much. Well, but let's filter to rushing yards here because I'm curious. They might even have odds for JMO, but they do 0.5 to see if they're on like a jet sweep type of thing. I actually love this. I don't think they've been doing this enough this year. How many rushes does Jameson have? He only has 1. But I think they're going to have to get into their bag a little bit. I know obviously they don't have Ben Johnson, who's the guy who was, scheming up all those like fun plays, and we saw what he did with Chicago last night with Caleb Williams doing something a little bit of a flea flicker action there. Definitely a much better game called from Ben Johnson, getting a lot more creative with some of those plays. But JMO running the ball, I kind of like where this is at 1.5 yard. I think this is definitely a spot where they try to give a play to Jameson Williams here and try to get something creative going on the ground here against Baltimore. Let's look at them of the rush yards here. So no running back receiver. Running backs here, we had Jerome Ford go over. Judkins flew over. He's an animal. Sampson didn't get a ton of burn there. James Cook was held under. Ray Davis did not, but Ty Johnson got his carries. I like this a lot. I'm going to say this is worth playing. I'm going with a JMO Williams here. What am I doing? This is here we go. I gotta zoom out a little bit. Mark Andrews, no, Jameson Williams rushing yard 125. It's at Hard Rock. It's at MGM. I think it's definitely worth playing if you have an MGM account. Let's confirm its availability here quickly. I think they could absolutely do some crazy stuff right here with Jameson Williams, and him to get a rushing yards plus 120 here. So it has gone down actually. We see how this line moved. Let's look at Profit X here. So it went from even money. Is getting love at plus 118. It was as low as minus 110. So there was a bit of resistance on that, as we can see here over at Profit X. There was some resistance, but I actually absolutely think this is worth playing. Jameson Williams over rushing yards. So I am going to lock that in as a bet to make here. Absolutely. Jameson Williams over 1/2 rushing yard. I think they give Jamo the ball in space, and I think that's absolutely worth a unit for sure. For sure. So that's one prop. Beautiful. Not going to be a ton of D-Vigging because there aren't any really sharp books there, but I think that this is a matchup where they're going to give Jameson Williams the football like that. So first touchdowns we got to get. I know they're going to say they want to get Isaac Tesla involved, and we know that this passing game for, or this passing D, I should say, for Baltimore is definitely beatable. Let's look at some Tesla stuff. They had 29 Chicago. That was all coming on one catch, if I'm not mistaken. How many targets? Yeah, both games, one catch, one target. Both one-handed, or one was one-handed, one was like another circus catch. So he's just out there making highlight reel plays, which is obviously awesome. But is he actually going to get like a fair shake? Went to 12.5 and shot up to 16.5. So definitely some love in the market, at least for Tesla, based on at least the coach speak, nonetheless. But maybe there's an opportunity. Let me go. So for this longest touchdown, this is a kind of a tough one. Like Tesla could be a deep ball threat. D-Hop is definitely interesting. I know he hasn't gotten the burn, but they said they want to get him going. And the way that they use him in the passing game against the Lions, like in man coverage, if he gets a one-on-one, you know Lamar's throwing it his way. So I'm actually going to go pivot from Tesla. We'll get back to some thoughts on him, but I'm pretty high on Hopkins. All the coach speak on him. FanDuel, Novig hanging at 367. Let's pull up Novig quickly here and see how much liquidity is there. This is why Outlier is so great. It's because you can literally see the market, click, make one bet, and click a couple buttons and see what's good. So Hopkins at 365 is over 1K. So definitely enough to get down here on Novig. I think it's absolutely worth it. With that being said, obviously we want to try to take advantage of some of the promotions here, but for longest touchdown nuke, like they could throw him a bomb. So I think actually probably at DraftKings for that promo, I think it's actually worth it. Okay, so I think that's worth it. So for the DK promo, I'm going to bet that. So I have to, it's a $5 bet, but I'm going to bet more than that on D-Hop touchdown. King of End Zone qualifying bet, $5. Minimum $5 wager is the minimum. Okay, so you can bet whatever you want, but you need to at least throw fives on it for DeAndre Hopkins, King of the End Zone, plus 340. So I'm in on DeAndre Hopkins to score a touchdown, and I'm using my boost on him. Hopefully we get a little deep ball action to DeAndre. One-on-one man coverage. I think that's absolutely on the table. Or if he just scores anyway with a little bit of a, let's see red zone target share. No targets there, none against Buffalo, but he did score both those touchdowns on longer plays, which was really great to see. So try to find some first tutties and some other props. We have two props that we locked in. Jameson Williams over 1/2 a rush yard, and now DeAndre Hopkins anytime tutty. Also have a parlay to build out as well on FanDuel. So let's take a look at that. Let's pivot over to FanDuel now and see some of the odds here. Let's look at some of these plays. So Lamar over 2.5 passing tutties. Of course, he's been just killing it. Henry's a minus 230 tutty, which is, not fun. His first tutty's 430, which I definitely don't hate, to be honest with you, considering how I do expect this game to go. Jahmyr Gibbs is 650. Either player anytime tutty score, Jahmyr Gibbs or Henry is minus 650. I mean, cut the shit, man. David Montgomery plus 120 anytime. So, a game with a total of 53.5. Obviously, books are expecting there to be a ton of points. The market is expecting there to be a ton of points. 2+ tutties, Henry's 240. Odds are moving right as I'm looking at them as well. Let's see, receiving props. Let me see, we can't just ignore Amon-Ra. He's obviously the focal point outside of Jahmyr Gibbs here for them. 6.5 receptions. He had 9 last game, 4 in week 1. But again, with this Baltimore Ravens defense is nowhere near as good as anticipated. Look at some reception props. Judy went under, Seti went under, but all Palmer, Shakir, and Keon all flew over that number. Can't compare, the Lions offense to the Browns. I guess in the sense where they spread the ball around, you can, but like that's the only thing you could do, considering how bad um, the offense is for Cleveland, considering how good the Lions offense can be. But part of my reason for being on Baltimore is the fate of Goff. Like I don't think that last week is going to like really instill so much confidence that like Goff is back. He's still so good. Like we can't forget how bad Goff was until Ben Johnson and the Lions and everything that they did, kind of supported him and took him to that next level. I still think Goff is not a great quarterback. And speaking of, I was looking at this prop earlier this week, but I didn't bet it. We talked about this on stream. Goff under passing yards, I could be intrigued by. What are they? Oh, it dropped significantly. I wrote it down. I'm going to pull it up quickly because I'm curious. It was like much, much higher. It was 265 and a half, as you can see, some of this movement. That's just prize picks, though. Let's see some alternate lines. No, it goes down to 186. Yeah, so that market moved. I botched. Sometimes you snooze, you lose, and that's unfortunately me here. But Profit X with a 262 and a half. Let's see what the liquidity looks like at Profit X. Yeah, only freaking $49.61, unfortunately. Let's go to pass props. Let's see what it is. Let's see if there is more liquidity elsewhere. Passing yards, 2K, only 125 on under, a lot on the over here. And on these numbers, there's nothing. Okay, so I think I missed the boat, unfortunately. Where now, like maybe the over is the look. We saw a 14-yard drop. And let me see on FanDuel. It's 260 and a half, which I actually think is still probably worth it. I think this could be like a Jared Goff in the blender game. And even if they do keep it like close per se, still lost like 5 yards. But that's the first leg of this lay is going to be Goff under 260 and a half passing yards. Receiving props, Jameis 51 and a half. They're not offering Jameson Williams rushing yard line on FanDuel, unfortunately, which is never ideal. We have to bet that at MGM for the half a yard. We can still find some more spots here. Receiving props. What's Justice Hill's 15 and a half for Justice Hill on receiving yards, and receptions for Justice Hill is 2.5, 120. Okay. Plus 120, that is, of course. Let's see, I guess I'm missing passing yards here. I have attempts, I have TDs. Where's passing yards? There we go. That's why I wasn't showing. 262 and a half. Okay. DraftKings. Let's see. Under 262 and a half. What's DraftKings hanging? It's not showing up on here. Let's see. Passing props. Jared Goff. It's 259 and a half. Okay. So betting the under. That's one leg of this parlay. I think that we can also add in the DeAndre Hopkins touchdown because I'm big on DeAndre to score here. 350. I also think JMO is definitely a great look for a touchdown. Those might be my two first touchdowns if we're going non-chalk. I know his like receptions are so low and like only 2, but he did blow up last game. They're going to need more of JMO, and the offense, like this isn't totally sustainable, and they definitely expect JMO to take like a massive leap this year. I was looking at some injuries. Who else? I knew that Jair Alexander's DNP CD. He just is bad. Likely still out. They'll also are missing Van Noy, which is not really a massive thing for JMO, but still worth noting. And here on the other side, bunch of outs. Nobody, Craig Reynolds not dressing. So it looks like it is a Tesla going to be getting some more love here. But I just think that does probably just give more value to JMO. So Goff under, DeAndre touchdown, JMO touchdown, plus 39.88. I'm in. I'm betting that. Jared Goff, anytime touchdown. Parlay. Jared Goff, anytime touchdown. Jameson Williams, Jared Goff, under 260.5 passing yards. Jameson Williams, anytime touchdown. DeAndre Hopkins, anytime touchdown. I'm in. Just bet it on FanDuel plus 39.88. So let's find some first tutties and some other EV stuff that we can absolutely bet for tonight. We have now a good amount of plays. We have, I should have, if you guys want to feel better. I have the Ravens -4.5. I have Jameson Williams over half a rushing yard. And now I have DeAndre Hopkins anytime touchdown. And I have this three-legger of DeAndre Hopkins anytime touchdown, Jameson Williams anytime touchdown, and Jared Goff under 216.5 passing yards. So let's find some first tutties here. Let's go back to the games tab. We'll take a look at Lions Ravens here. Player props, first touchdown score. So I love how there's some no markets, especially on like Novig and Profit X. I think that's always really fun that they can offer that. Obviously, there's massive odds here, but at the same time, sometimes there's really some great stuff, especially if you are fading like a Gibbs or a Henry, though I don't think I have the balls to do that for this one. Zay Flowers, 880 at Novig, Amon-Ra, 1150, Montgomery. I'm a little bit intrigued by Montgomery. I'm also intrigued by Lamar here. I don't think he's going to have to run it, but if they do play that man coverage and they do just like turn around and let Lamar, run, which is something that the Lions are known for, that could be a really good spot for Lamar to pick up a ton of rushing yards. So what am I doing here? Leave. Yep. Okay. Let's see here. Lamar Jackson, first touchdown score, obviously has not scored first in a minute, 1150. Though not that matters whatsoever, but I'm just curious there. But Lamar is leading in red zone attempts, but that kind of does lead me to think that it's going to be like back to like a Henry, just like domination here. Rushing yards at 84.5 for the King. Understandably so. Got shut down by Cleveland, but they didn't need him as the Ravens. Put a 41 spot. Buffalo, of course, he ran rampant. They couldn't tackle anybody. And I don't know if I'm like that intrigued by like anything Detroit here. Absolutely. Hold on, getting a message about DeAndre Hopkins anytime touchdown using in the king of the end zone. Okay, gotta kick it for the boys who are asking. Yes, there we go. DeAndre Hopkins anytime touchdown, king of the end zone plus 340. Henry, I kind of like his first touchdown. I hate that it's chalk. I feel like there hasn't been as much chalk as you'd like. I shouldn't say as you'd like, as like it's just like inevitable for first touchdown scores, especially on prime time. Let me go back to this tab here. Let's see some of the odds for Derrick Henry first. 590 at Novig. We could pull up the best. If you guys aren't using like Novig or Profit, like they always have the best prices, like realistically, and they always have like a ton of good liquidity as well. So very much recommend getting an account with Novig and Profit X. You can use promo code BetSmart and save yourself some money in the process. You'll get a purchase match up to $25, 100%. So you purchase $20. Can't speak. You purchase $25 worth of Novig coins, you get a free $25. At 475, there's only 2183. 452 is the next best price, but we could take a look at the line shopping back on Outlier and make sure we find the best price there. 450 at DK. 452 is still the best. So Novig still does have the best price at 452. But I'm definitely interested. I'm not gonna lie, like I think this could just be chalk city here. 450 Derrick Henry on Novig. 152 or 452. I'm all in on King Henry. I hate that it's it's chalky one, but I'm liking it. Henry first touchdown. And we will bet a Lion as well, just because it's prime time and we're having some fun here. So I will look for another Lion as well to bet. I kind of like JMO. Like I think they're gonna have to come out and fire. Like I think we're gonna know pretty early on if this is a game where the Ravens are like kind of absolutely like mismatching, which I think they could be, and they're like putting the beat down on Detroit versus like we're in for like a classic, which is definitely possible. I mean, the market is telling me that um, there is still left for the Lions. I thought this would get up to like 6, honestly. I really did think that they was going to move the other way. It did sit there for a little bit, but it did move back. Pull up underdog on my other computer, another monitor here, just to make sure we're not missing anything. Um, for this one entirely. No, just some stuff on around the league. Nothing else that we didn't know really for this game just yet. So nothing noteworthy there. Let's see if there's any like sharp report here. Anything like that coming into this game? No, it just looks pretty standard. Obviously, this is like a massive game. They're two teams that should be really good, but I'm still not sold, man. I still think that this could be where we start seeing some of the Jared Goff coming back down to earth and not in a good way. We saw it week 1, albeit against arguably one of the best defenses in football in the Packers, though we could say the Browns might have the best defense in football after what they did, which was just awesome to see. If you had a survivor entry on the Packers, I do feel bad for you, but also like I know people that you like to use. I like to use like different like big time money lines for like parlays or whatnot, like which I don't recommend at all. If you guys lost your slips on that, I mean, I do feel bad. I never want to see anybody lose a slip, but not best process. Kind of getting burnt there. Packers in a teaser if you're able to get -1.5 or -120 odds, like that's still a good bet, but not going to come through there. Laporte is also interesting because he has been getting a bulk of the work as well, and I think that from like an odds perspective, it's big time chalk for me for Baltimore. It could definitely just be Jameer, and 733 is like a pretty crazy price, honestly. Over at Kalshi, let's pull up Kalshi here. We can talk all day about prediction markets and all this stuff. We're not going to do that for right now, but this is the screen here for first touchdown, percent chances, and like kind of where it's trending. So Derrick Henry has the highest percent chance, was as high as 19%. Jameer Gibbs at 13%, 12 here. Let's go back. We'll assume we don't have Kalshi, but if you do want to sign for Kalshi, use promo code BetSmart. DraftKings still 7-1 on Jameer Gibbs for the first touchdown. I think it could be a chalk city. I'm between Laporta and Jameer. Jameer for the obvious reasons, but let's look at Laporta a little bit as well. Anytime tutties, 245. Some value multiplicative to Pinnacle at DraftKings as well. Target share, he's number 2. He's dead number 2 in the red zone. Amon-Ra is dominating. Tesla has that one red zone target, that one touchdown in week 1 is 1 catch. Laporta only 1. So you'd think this has to normalize unless they do just feed Amon-Ra, which isn't out of the cards here. You got to deal with the Jameer Gibbs, David Montgomery nonsense, which does kind of intrigue me on Monty a little bit because his odds aren't going to be as crappy there, but that's also assuming they're doing some red zone stuff and not just getting a 30-yard rush from Jameer or throwing it to Jama or throwing it to Amon-Ra. I mean, we're getting a first touchdown here, so I'm not expecting to like cash on all of these though. We hit last week, which was awesome. Absolutely high. Absolutely great. But let's not like belabor anything here. We have D. Henry for 1. Let's look at deep down the board for fun. We need like an Ali kickoff return to kick off the game. That would defense and special teams actually. I'm going with no shot there. Lamar's been so great with the football and not turning the ball over. Goff, on the other hand, can turn it over, but I'm not really so scared of the Ravens defense like they would be at one point. We have full chalk with Monty, but I do think this JMO price is a little bit odd. 18-1 at FanDuel. I mean, we had already JMO anytime in that lay. I think I stick with JMO here, honestly. I think if they're going to beat them, they're not going to be able to just do the underneath stuff. They're going to have to try to manufacture some big plays here. And I think that JMO is absolutely the one, obviously, that's going to be able to do that for them. So I'm locking in Jameson Williams 18-1 over at DraftKings, FanDuel as well as the same price. Kalshi 19-1 if you guys have a Kalshi account. But I'm in on JMO anytime, first touchdown. Okay, perfect. So we have some beautiful bets so far. Jameson Williams first, King Henry first, parlay, D Hop anytime, JMO anytime, Goff under 216.5 passing yards. For the DK promo, DeAndre Hopkins touchdown, and Jameson Williams over half a rushing yard. Also on Baltimore minus the 4.5 here. So that's a pretty good look. But let's look at some of the EV stuff here and see if we can find anything worth betting. I want to actually switch to the game line. Maybe we do find like a sneaky like first half or something. Some EV to FanDuel here. Yeah, this is already going to next week. We could set the filters to date range. Let's just do tonight just to see what we got for tonight. First half spread, Baltimore 4.5 is on MGM and DK. So this could be if the Ravens do just come out and turn up. We know the Ravens have their struggles in the second half, like we saw against the Bills, though they completely, ignored that in week 2, where they just turned up actually in week 2 instead. In the second half instead, they just went absolutely nuts in that one. There is some value though to Penny and Circa here at this 4.5 plus 120. Let's pull up MGM. I don't think I'm going to bet this because I already have the full game 4.5, and I already like this, so I don't think I'm going to double expose on this one. So it's in 37 minutes, of course, 120. We bet this. So it is available here at 120 at MGM. So there is some expected value. So it probably is a bet worth making at this point if you didn't get in early. I did think that the market was going to move in my favor, but didn't happen and is, all in the game and all good. Well, back to the EV here. So you're seeing some value on both sides here. Detroit, maybe you could find an ARB. Let's pull up some arbitrage here from DraftKings and see if there's anything quick here. Arbitrage is showing even for this upcoming week for some markets going. But for tonight, at Profit X and at MGM here, there's an ARB for Jake Bates, the kicker for the Lions. Let's just do, let's do $200. So if you have $200 between both these games, so let's like raise that. I don't know how much realistically MGM is taking on a field goal prop. I would say hopefully they could take 150 and that there's enough liquidity there. But there's a free, couple of bucks out there if you bet this at Profit and at MGM. So this is always great to look at for some free arbitrage here. You can also set your minimum percentage. So you want to see only 2% minimum. You could make sure that you're only looking at stuff that you want to see from a arbitrage perspective, which if you're not familiar with, you all should be now, is just risk-free profit based on 2 lines being entirely off. Let's go back to props and let's make sure we're looking just at today for now. Lamar touchdown still showing. David Montgomery showing to Kalshi as well. Let me take Kalshi off and see if that changes things. So no vig and profit. Okay, we're seeing a lot fewer, some lower percentages as well. But Laporta over receiving yards, no vig and profit. Andrews touchdown. I actually want to take those off just because with these prediction markets, you don't know who's on the other side of the liquidity. And it's a lot of cases, it could be either, a sharper better, or it could be somebody like hedging out of a position elsewhere because they have all these opportunities to trade on many different platforms now. So looking at some of the basic stuff, Henry under 86.5 at Caesars is showing some value. Let's just pull up the chart here. Plus 103. For unders minus 124, Bovada's 130, BOL 114. So showing some expected value here, fair being 109, only 107 at Caesar. So not a ton of EV when you devig to a couple of different books there. Obviously had not even close to that against Cleveland. Destroyed that number in Buffalo, but that was like a Bills team that like really can't tackle whatsoever. And that was shown, right in front of everybody's faces on primetime in that one. So I don't have that same feeling, though, for Henry. I think that he's still going to be out of the day. Amon-Ra, some first touchdowns or anytime touchdowns. A Flowers under. hate that I like this now because I think that it did get inflated. I know his target share, as we know, is ridiculous at this point. But if the Lions have a fighting chance, it's going to be trying to slow down Zay Flowers in the passing game because he is, look at that rate, 42.6%. I keep harping on it because it's just so damn high. Odunze went over, DJ Moore went over, but DJ Moore didn't do anything. Zacchaeus went under, Romeo Golden, but they spread the ball around a lot more often. So they are, of course, a funnel on offense with who they throw the ball to, with Zay Flowers being their guy, understandably so. Hopkins for 1.5. I actually like this a good bit, honestly. They already talked about Hopkins playing more. I'm gonna do a quick Twitter search here and see if we can find the quote because I talked about like with ramping him up, and this is a situation where I think they're going to do that. Honestly, they talked about how they want to get the older guy more involved. Detroit again with a lot of man coverage, a lot of one-on-one opportunities. DeAndre Hopkins in like some jump ball situations there. What's his receiving yards? It's at 20.5. He flew over that there, didn't hit there. Again, I know he's only got 4 targets, still somehow having 2 touchdowns, which is just incredible. Shout out to Nuke for being able to support that for himself. That is like really crazy. Just as crazy as Isaac Tesla being able to have 2 catches, for one for a touchdown and one that was another beauty. I don't know. I lean more toward receptions here because they're going to definitely, they do use him as like a deep ball guy or like a one-on-one in coverage situation. I do lean more receptions because on like 4th downs or 3rd downs, this game is close late, which it is expected to be and certainly can be. I could expect them to go to DeAndre Hopkins, who's as sure-handed as it can be. Not a ton of EV here, so let's look at some of the final stuff for everybody who just hopped in. We bet Jameson Williams over half a rushing yard, JMO first touchdown, Henry first touchdown, DeAndre Hopkins anytime touchdown, Ravens minus 4.5, and as well as a parlay of Goff under 216.5 passing yards, DeAndre Hopkins anytime touchdown, Jameson Williams anytime touchdown. So you guys already can see where my head is in this one and who I like. I already have a lot of that, sorted out here prior to hopping on. But nice to have an outlier show me some of the data to confirm some of that. Yeah, I like this Goff under. I do. Jameson Williams touchdown. We already bet that in a parlay. I was like, why is it not letting me go? Because I have those 3 players filtered there. Tylan Wallace, 1 catch. Like, the Ravens can pull some stuff out of the bag here. Like, it's going to be a Charlie Kolar first touchdown. I bet King Henry. 2 receptions for Wallace last game. But, again, it's so hard to, like, have any confidence on, like, a Devontae Walker or Tylan Wallace when they have literally 2 targets through 2 games. I know that definitely explicitly does create some value for these guys that are deeper down the board for some plus money odds, or obviously probability is against them to do some good stuff, but it's just such a funnel. It's like even when you're betting like an Eagles game, it's like they have 3 guys that touch the ball. It's A.J. Brown, it's Devonta Smith, or it's Saquon Barkley, or it's Jalen Hurts running. That's it with the Ravens now. It's Zay Flowers, it's Derrick Henry, or it's Lamar Jackson figuring some stuff out, or maybe some one-on-one shots to DeAndre Hopkins, which this are like inefficient plays, don't get me wrong. And they just, I guess, are confident enough in Nuke's catching ability, which, how could you not be considering how, adept he is at making those circus catches and one-on-one coverage and some of the surest hands. He might not have the burners like he used to, but he's not dropping stuff. Those gloves, checking for sticky stuff. Tylan Wallace. Can't really be betting on any Tylan Wallace today. I'm out on that. Khalif Raymond is a little bit intriguing, honestly. 8.5. Hit over that in both games. And even the Lions. I mean, Raymond, 4 targets, but they keep talking about this Tesla kid. I know what he's done, and we see the market basically agreeing with everything. As we see opening at 13.5 or as low as 12.5. Now, seeing a lot of the top of the market being 16.5. Where it got bet down, even 18.5. Got bet down a little bit here for Tesla. Because again, it is such something that they talked about, but we can look at some alternate lines maybe. And whenever you're facing uncertainty, it's always the move to look at some plus money stuff. 24.5 here at FanDuel. He had 29. Again, one catch though, so volume's not going to be there. Whatever his receptions, 1.5 plus money. So if you do buy the news, or if you are buying the news, I should say, maybe reception is where it's at, because I mean, how many targets is he going to get realistically? Like, what's Goff's pass attempt prop? Like, how many pass attempts do they really think Goff is going to throw? And of course, this is even discussing anything to Jahmyr Gibbs underneath. 35.5. So fewer than the Lions-Bears game. Packers game, they were trailing, which I think is possible, but I don't think that he really is going to, make the most of his opportunities here. I don't see it with Goff today. If Goff comes and lights up the Ravens and we have ourselves a classic shootout, I'll eat my words and move on here. But I don't see it with Goff today. I think that we're going to be reminded about what Jared Goff kind of was prior to the amazing situation, because we know the offensive line has been moving around and not as great this year. We know how bad the Bears defense is. We know how much they miss Ben Johnson. I know that they destroyed him in their own building, but again, like, they're so familiar with everything that he was probably going to do, and the Bears defense is so bad. They were probably expecting Jalen Johnson to contribute in that one, but he left the game so early on. I don't see it. I don't want to belabor anything here, but we do have some 54.5, 54 being a key number. I guess I would lean toward an under game, but with these two teams and these offenses, that's of course a scary sight, even though we are on prime time here. Back to some props. We'll do a final run through here to call us out. Obviously, the game's starting pretty soon. Jahmyr Gibbs touchdown. What an animal this guy is, man. I love myself some Jahmyr Gibbs. No red zone targets, but 5 attempts. In that last game, he can obviously score from anywhere because he's amazing. I'll let us see the last time. I just want to see this year, because they definitely are keeping their same thunder and lightning situation going on, which they are intrigued by, because I don't know when they're going to finally phase out Demont and just give Gibbs the ball every single play. I know obviously you can't do that for the obvious reasons, but when you have the guy as talented as Jahmyr Gibbs, that's just why? Why is the football not in his hands all the time? Why is he not just being allowed to run wild and do whatever the hell he wants to do? Ravens this year, pretty good touchdowns against running backs, but again, let's see who they played. Sampson got in, James Cook got in, but that's natural. 2 backup-backs did not get in there. Then Jerome and Judkins, who was on a limited snap count there, and of course Sampson was getting that goal line work in that game there. What's his receiving yards at? 28.5, pretty low, but I do think that might be a little too low, honestly. With that speed and no Van Noy, who's more plays a little bit, but at this point a little bit more. He's an off-ball linebacker. It's not really in the middle of the field, kind of rushing the passer situation. So I don't think the Gibbs being out does, open up more in the passing game for Gibbs, unfortunately. But it's interesting. After the catch, of course, he's just cooking. He's so damn good. What's his receptions? I definitely missed it. Where's his rec? Yeah, here it is. 3.5. He had 10 week 1. Of course, they were just feeding him, funneling him. Because why wouldn't you? It's Jahmyr Gibbs. Only 3 last week, though, in a game script that got away from him. I'm actually intrigued by this. It's minus 166. If you're a prize pick player, though, considering it's minus 137 with the odds, there is definitely some value on prize picks if you're looking for some squares. For JMO, over 3.5 receptions. Minus 166, though, that's just so low. Let's check it out here. Get minus 166 for 4 plus. It's not ideal there for it. It makes sense why. Like, what are some alt numbers here? What's 4.5 plus 126 with 5 catches? The target share is definitely there though. Um, I mean, 19.7%. It's so inflated from week one, which is something always to consider. It's like how the odds move based on what's happened. I mean, he has numbers that look like it's going to back it up, but it's so inflated from a 10 catch week one. Um, I just saw someone bet a JMO first touchdown. But it's at 12 to 1. No, you gotta do some line shopping. You gotta do some line shopping. 12 to 1. There's an 18 to 1 out there. We bet that shit. They'll be betting any 12 to 1s. We have some value here. Honestly, from an overall game perspective, it's not a ton I like. Charlie Kolar, let's see, what's he been doing? Nothing. He's been on the field though, I think a decent amount. Would love to see moving forward an outlier, a snap share count, because if they're running routes but not getting targets, but they're on the field often and they're running routes, that's like definitely information that is so worth knowing, because that could just lead to those situations where, like, yeah, they haven't had the production to start, but it doesn't mean that the production is never going to happen. It just hasn't happened yet. And they can also start to add some wrinkles to some plays, like, for example, Kolar being, predominantly a blocking tight end, but of course, Likely's out. Andrews is looking a little bit bad. Like, they've been running the ball, say, tendency behind Kolar X amount of times. That can open up like a play action pass where a guy like him actually becomes like the focal point. But again, we're talking about, Charlie Kolar's case, it probably doesn't make sense, but just talking more like about some of these, players and ways to think about football, because a lot of people are so fixated on like, oh, what's his hit rate for the last 5 games, last 10 games, etc. Like, those things like really don't matter. It's about finding the opportunities that aren't, priced in just yet. And that's where you're going to be finding some value in some of your bets here. Lamar passing, haven't looked at yet. 220, 32.5. I think this could be a Lamar. Market has shot up and changed a bit. I think this makes sense, that move toward the over, because I do think this is like a Lamar can stand back in the pocket and pass. But if they do turn their backs, he could go. But his rushing yards, I'll actually pull back to last season just because. Actually, we'll go to attempts if they have attempts here. Look at this drop here. We'll go last 5. Obviously, we have this first 2 weeks of this year. We have the playoffs. It's a little bit inflated there. So let's do 2024 prior. He's not looking to just put the ball down and put it in his hands and run. He is looking to make some of these passes. Like, yes, if he has to run it like he did here in this playoff game, he did. Another playoff game, did not do it as much as well. Didn't really feel a need to, because he kept this team in this game this entire time there. Then this season, 2-6. This isn't because like, oh, teams have figured out Lamar, or Lamar is, lost a step, not even close. It's just that he wants to be in the pocket, making those plays as a pocket passer, which he is more than capable of doing. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Top 3, undoubtedly. And it's not just because of the dual threat that obviously helps his case, it's because he actually is a great passer here. So completions, 19-29. Last game, 14 of 19, which is just ridiculous how he's able to be so productive in just 19 pass attempts. Of course, they wish that final score was different, as did I, because I had Ravens in that game, unfortunately, as well. Only 8 rushing attempts. It's like a situation that, like, is it like too low now? Hasn't moved too much where it's like, okay, like Lamar obviously is going to pass. Obviously, his rushing numbers have dipped, but solely because of like a system of like how he wants to play the game, not for any other reason here. Why is that number going that way? Maybe that's why. I don't want rushing touchdowns, but it's anytime touchdowns. Maybe that's why there is some EV. It's as low as 170 for Lamar. This is actually very intriguing. At this point, I might have to honestly bet this. Plus 170 at DraftKings. Let's pull it up. Like, his passing touchdowns is 1.5. It's juiced to oblivion here. Of course, he had that 4 touchdown game. 170. I think maybe we could build out like one more little SGP here for this one. Lamar, anytime touchdown score. We already faded Goff, but if we're looking for some legs that we didn't already maximize, um, Lamar anytime, but we're interested in receiving props. I hate this interface how they do it like this. So then for over unders, you have to scroll down. Oh, DraftKings, man, what are you gonna do? I kind of like Zay's under at this point, honestly. Like it's so high. I know he's been like killing it and he's the guy, but that seems like a little bit of an overstatement there. Lamar anytime, Zay under, JMO over. It's already an 850 slip. Tesla, like I'm not betting on that much uncertainty there. Receptions 4.5. Justice Hill is 2.5 still, so that's tough. Nuke at 1.5. So we'll be sticking with the things we like. That's 16 to 1 here. Let me see what that is on FanDuel also. I'm going to go back to Outlier and let's just see what it is, because if there is a big discrepancy, maybe it is worth a bet there. We have Lamar anytime. Let's keep building here. Lamar anytime, receiving props, player total receptions, like so much a better interface here. Nuke over 1.5. Receiving yards, Zay under 3.5. 692. That's already showing me it's going to be worse. And then JMO, yeah, 1413 compared to 1600. DraftKings is clearly the best price there. But I don't know if I love all of these legs. Let's go back to Outlier here and let's finalize some legs. So I'm definitely in on Lamar anytime and DeAndre over receptions. Those are two legs that I think are definitely worthwhile here. And let's keep building. We're going to try to stay away from the stuff that we already bet. Like, of course, we bet some Nuke, but entirely different markets. So nothing that we want to, that we're like doubling down and like have all of our eggs in like the Nuke basket there. So we're good on Lamar. Zay Flowers anytime. Like, I want to bet an under there, man. I really do. Hill receptions, Hard Rock with some good pricing there. Copy Jameson Williams, DeAndre, Justice Hill anytime. No, kind of want to fade the Tesla news. We can also bet some defensive guys, but I haven't really paid attention enough to like some tackle assist prop type stuff. So going back to the top here, King Henry anytime. Monty 1.5 receptions. Let's pull this up because this could be a fade. I know they do love him in the pass game too, but of course it's Gibbs's world. It does have 5 targets so far, but a lot of dump offs here from Cleveland. But I don't know if they're going to be doing the same thing here. 4 in week 1. Let's even look at last year out of curiosity. Had some 3 catch games, some 1 catch games. I kind of like Monty under 1.5 receptions here. Total receptions, David Montgomery. It's plus 128, which makes it intriguing because obviously the numbers support that overs, but like from a number perspective, plus 125, yeah, it's much better. It's 128, so similar pricing there, but DraftKings, I'm sure, can give me the same odds. I'll get rid of these 2 legs. Even just that is 10 to 1, where it's plus 884 here. Probably don't even need to, complicate things anymore. And add another leg. We're getting 10 to 1. Not that that's like a massive deal. I just think that from a fun parlay perspective, it is nice to, see a nice round 10 to 1 number from, of course, lower risk, high reward there as well. So I'm betting that. I'm pulling up on my phone right now. Montgomery under, Hopkins over, 10 to 1 with Lamar anytime. That is the final bet of the night. So, boys, we have a great I love what we played tonight. We had a huge Monday. We had a crappy Thursday, and we had a great weekend of props this weekend. And the only game line that really was the one that screwed us for like a nice profitable day was the Rams. We hit on the over in the Washington game. We hit on the under in the Charger game. We hit on Trey Benson over rushing yards. We hit on Michael Pittman over receiving yards. We missed on Stafford passing yards. But if that Rams game didn't go the way it did with that, Jordan Davis taking it back, Oh, that was a massive swing. I had money line and against the spread there. But last Monday we hit some crazy slips, and tonight we're hopefully doing the same. So let me run through what we bet for tonight, and you can get ready on the couch there. We have tonight bet Ravens minus 4.5. Jameson Williams over half a rushing yard. We have DeAndre Hopkins anytime touchdown. We have a same game parlay of DeAndre anytime touchdown, Jameson Williams anytime touchdown, Goff under 216.5 passing yards. Henry first touchdown, JMO first touchdown, and then this three-legger of Lamar anytime, Nuke under 1.5 receptions, or excuse me, Nuke over 1.5 receptions, David Montgomery under 1.5 receptions. So more than enough action. Let's get it tonight. Game starts soon. But if you guys are not using Outlier yet, you can scan the QR code in the top right, or under the stream link, I have a link posted for a 7-day free trial of Outlier. Now's the best time to use it. They have all the player prop research we went through, positive expected value, as well as arbitrage as well. So if you guys want to, be serious about finding some value in your sports betting and doing your own research and stop, tailing random people on Twitter that aren't using some of the best tools out there, try Outlier for yourself. Scan the QR or click the link. It's tweeted right under the tweet. If you're watching on Twitter, on YouTube, put the link in the description, boys. So thank you guys all for tuning in. Let's have a hell of a night, and I'll see you guys on Wednesday. I'm streaming Wednesday, so have a